What is there to say about a SpongeBob SquarePants game that's finally not centered around the sponge himself? Surprisingly more than you'd expect, but less than you'd hope.
Oh, tartar sauce!
Goodbye, the show where I tell you about a thing and whether or not you should actually buy that thing. Today, that thing is SpongeBob SquarePants The Patrick Star Game.
Good morning!
Way to shoehorn your brand name in there, SpongeBob. The easiest way to describe the Patrick Star Game is that it's Nickelodeon's attempt to replicate the Goat Simulator games. A pure sandbox, no real objectives or plot, with quests and activities to undertake from a familiar cast of characters. It's a separation from the platforming-centric entries of Battle for Bikini Bottom and even the Cosmic Shake. And it's a refreshing way to let us loose in this charming world. Only it never really does much to wow. Doesn't carry enough humor that the titular series was once known for, and is, for a lack of better words, quite janky. I know, so is Goat Simulator, but sometimes it's not a good thing here. Now before I go too far into pummeling the poor child favorite starfish, let me make something clear. I still had a fun enough time playing this game, even as a 26-year-old man. But admittedly, I grew up with this show. Still, as a working adult, I probably wouldn't have spent the £30 to £35 on this experience. It's not outrageous, and perhaps there'll be more worth and longevity to keep your child entertained, but it was a higher ask than I was expecting, having played it for a while. Okay, I continued pummeling there for a minute. Let's get to some good.
Have mercy!
This is a game where you don't really have to think about anything, and that's kind of wonderful.
We'll check in with these two later.
You just run around, speak to various characters which feature the original voice cast, and participate in some odd tasks. Dig for treasure in the dump, race around the driving school, find gloves in Glove World, or take part in an Overcooked style minigame where you're trying to make Krabby Patty orders in an act-free labor for a certain cheap crab. And I'm glad the game panned out this way. The story-driven platformers can be great, sure, but to step away in a game focused on Patrick and just do stuff? That's the best approach for it, I feel. Do some kind of tasks that doesn't really need an explanation, whether that be removing the public from Squidward's sunbathing spot or skydiving with Sandy, and earn sand dollars. It's not quite a real currency though, more of a score for how much you've done, and the more you earn, you automatically unlock various iconic outfits, calling back to classic episodes of the TV show. It's a nice touch and a way to get even more references in the game for fans of the series, but when it heavily relies on references over any new humor or personality, it fails to reach beyond a good experience. In terms of it feeling quite janky, it's a physics-based sandbox that is a dedicated option to reset the world because it knows the world is going to get messy quickly. But aside from times when I'd need to reset everything due to an obstacle of my own causing, there were other times where I'd need to restart a quest I'd already spent a bit of time on because it just broke. I'd found 24 of 30 objectives for a specific quest, and after a while of looking, none others were there. It wasn't even across the whole map, just one specific location, and I made sure that I wasn't missing anything for a good hour. Sure, I can appreciate that there is an option for quest restarts, but I also wish it wouldn't be needed. It's otherwise a chill, simple game, so when that gets cut short and you have to backtrack, it kills some of that enjoyment quite a bit. Still, I am aware this is a SpongeBob game, so expectations were never going to be too high. If you're after a fun sandbox experience with plenty of outfits to unlock, activities to undertake, objectives to complete, and just an open yet compact Bikini Bottom to explore, then I have no doubt you'll enjoy your time here, price tag aside. It's probably one I'll continue to chip away at until I get the Platinum Trophy, just because it's one of those easy to play games like that. So for a simple sandbox experience, what are you looking at in terms of cost and time investment? As mentioned, the game will run you about £30 to £35 depending on where you pick it up. Physical or digital, all that good stuff. Probably a little too pricey for a game of this style, especially one that doesn't do much to stand out or be inventive, but the worth will come down to your own interests. As for time investment, it's harder to say. As there's no real plot or story, the game is purely a sandbox of activities and things to play around with. You'd probably be looking at around 10 to 15 hours for a complete experience, having done everything there is. There are a lot of quests, costumes, and feats, which are on a list of separate, very specific objectives, but none are so complex that you'll need to spend too much time trying to figure them out. The Patrick Star game is fun, and to see the original cast return for it is a wonderful thing, but this deep-sea sandbox remains in relatively shallow waters despite a rich history of references and callbacks. It's probably a safe bet to keep your kids entertained for a good while, but for us adults who still have a soft spot for SpongeBob SquarePants, this is still a solid recommendation, just when the game is on sale and you're looking for something simple to mindlessly work away at.